guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a very basic 101 makeup lesson. It is going to be about how to apply your foundation. Now this is going to be a very simple video. It's not going to cover all techniques. It's not going to cover all kinds of tips and tricks. It's just going to give you the basics on how to apply foundation and how to keep it long lasting throughout the day. I'm not going to be mentioning names just because there are so many kinds out there and so many that I really love. So if you want to find out about any of the products that I'm lifting up in the video, I will leave them down in the description box below. Otherwise, you can just Snapchat me, tweet me, or Facebook me, and I will let you guys know some of my favorite products when it comes to different parts of the application. So without further ado, let us get on to my 101 how to apply foundation for beginners. Now you always want to start off with a really good base, and the only way to do that, in my opinion, is to apply a primer. With a primer, the best way to apply it is to just use your fingers and tap it onto the skin. Now to apply the foundation, you can use a whole bunch of different tools. There are some foundations out there that require different tools to apply them as well, so make sure that you know with the foundation that you're purchasing what kind of tools need to be used in order to get the best out of the foundation. But just in general, let me show you guys what kinds of applicators there are. There are brush applicators. The most common is this dome-sized brush applicator. It's just domed around the top and it's really easy to just buff that foundation into the skin. These are just some regular flat top brushes that a lot of brands make as well. This one has a bit of a slant to it, and that's just to help you reach certain areas in your face that you wouldn't otherwise be able to reach with a regular foundation brush. One of the most popular methods of application nowadays is the beauty blender. Personally, I really like using the beauty blender as well. So with this, what you want to do is dampen the sponge first so it doesn't absorb the foundation. The beauty blender being damp is also going to help your foundation blend a lot better. So I'm going to show you guys how I use each of the tools. I'm going to start with the beauty blender. This you want to just tap into your skin on top of the primer, and the opposite end is a little bit more tapered, so it's going to help you reach the smaller areas in your face, on your face. Now I'm not going to go all the way into the under eyes with this foundation because what I want to do is use a concealer in that area, and I'm going to be using a concealer that is a couple of shades lighter than my natural skin tone. That's going to give it a nice highlight. Now with a dome-shaped foundation brush, what you want to do is pick up the product and just buff it into the skin, and the dome is going to really help to blend that product. Now as you can see, I have a couple of acne scars that even though I already buffed the foundation over this area are still showing. That's because the domed foundation brush is designed to disperse that foundation really well into the skin. It buffs it out and therefore creates only a very thin layer on the skin. That's really good if you don't want that kind of cakey look, but it does help to stipple that foundation onto any areas where you want extra coverage. With a flat top, you also are going to use more or less the same method of application, but with this, I prefer to kind of drag it in little sweeping motions. And with flat tops, you do get a better, thicker application of the product than you do with a domed brush. Now when it comes to foundation application, I definitely prefer a very thin layer to be laid down all over the face first. And then once you're done with that first thin layer, you want to look at your skin and figure out which areas need a little bit more coverage. And then you're going to go back in, either with your blender sponge or your flat top foundation brush or your domed foundation brush. Anyone is fine. And just go over those areas again to add some extra coverage. Now we're going to move on to the concealer for the face. Now for the under eyes, as I mentioned before, I like to use a concealer that is a couple of shades lighter than my skin tone. I'm going to be using this one right here, taking it out onto my finger. And then what I'm going to do is just use the warmth of my fingers to warm up the product and tap it underneath my eyes. Because this is so light and I want to keep the rest of my skin quite uniform so it looks more natural, I'm also going to tap some of it onto my forehead, down the center of my nose, and onto my chin. And my absolute favorite way of blending foundation underneath the eyes out is definitely a foundation sponge. So that's what I'm going to be using. I'm going to turn down the light a little bit for you guys, just so I can show you the separation between one foundation color and my highlight color. And that's the exact effect that you're looking for Of course, if you like a more uniform look and you don't really like the look of highlights on the face, then you are free to use a foundation and concealer color that are exactly the same, and that's not going to give you this effect. Now, if you're going for very simple application, I would recommend not using a concealer brush. I'm just going to be using a liquid concealer, and this concealer is just going to go with my fingers onto any areas that I couldn't cover with my foundation. If you're looking to save cost when it comes to makeup products and tools, this is one of the places where you can kind of cut corners. I feel like finger application of concealer, if you get the right concealer, is really easy, really quick, and it helps the product really blend into the skin so it doesn't look like a patch of concealer that maybe looks a little bit unnatural, I would say. So I've covered up more or less everything that I want to cover up on my skin, so the next thing I'm going to do is set everything in place. This step is going to help you keep everything unmoving, stuck onto the face, and hopefully prevent oil coming through as well. I'm going to use a loose powder and just a fluffy brush, and I'm just going to tap that onto the skin. Make sure that you apply this in tapping motions, because if you've concealed any imperfections in your skin, you definitely don't want to rub it away by using swiping motions with your brush. So that is more or less the foundation done. I'm going to finish up with some bronzer, some blush, and a little bit of a lip color. And then I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about how to upkeep your foundation for the rest of the day. So those were the foundation application methods. Now on to how to keep your foundation on. Now the first thing you definitely want to do is invest in a good setting spray. So basically that's how you apply it. Just hold it at a distance from your skin, about 15-20 centimeters. Spray, make sure it envelops the entire face, and wait for it to dry. That's about it. And also, as I mentioned before, another thing you want to take note of when you're applying foundation is the kind of texture the foundation has and the best way of applying it. There are some foundations out there in the market that are better applied with fingers. Those are the more watery textured foundations, and with foundations that are really thick like cream foundations, it is a lot easier to apply them with a beauty blender or to mix in a little bit of your moisturizer, a little bit of your luminizing drops, or even some face oil to help the foundation move around a little bit more and just to ease the application. So you really have to see the kind of foundation that you're buying and make sure that it's the type of foundation that can be applied with the kind of tool that you have. There are also foundations out there that have their own applicator, so you don't need to bring an extra tool. One of those is a BB cushion. There is another product that's really convenient and really easy to use. That is the Estée Lauder Double Wear Nude Cushion Stick Radiant Makeup. This is basically a foundation in a stick. All you need to do is twist up and the foundation comes out. There you go. Because of the sponge that comes together with this product, it's really easy to use. You can tap it onto the skin, you can buff it into the skin, and of course you can just use swiping motions to help to blend it in together with areas of your skin that need a little bit of blending. Like for example, I'm blending it into the blush right now, so I don't need to reapply my blush. And then I'm using tapping motions where I feel like the skin needs a little bit more coverage, which is usually around my chin area. My foundation does break down a lot in the midday around that area as well as around my nose. And one thing I really like about this foundation that nobody thinks of is that it has a retractable function, which I think is so great. So if you over twist the product, you can actually retract it back into the chamber, which I think is so cool. Also, if you're like me and you're a stickler for hygiene, this sponge, I'm happy to report, is removable, so you can take it off and wash it, have it dry, and then put it back on and keep on using it. So with foundations, it obviously varies according to skin type. You have to choose a foundation that you want to use according to the skin type that you have, as well as the needs that your skin has. For me, I have a lot of acne scars that need covering, and therefore this foundation is not enough for me, but I do find that it is perfect for me to toss into my bag and to use as a touch-up instead of a foundation base for the rest of the day. One other thing I'm really happy to report is that this foundation comes in a large variety of different shades. I know there are a lot of Malaysians out there who are frustrated because they can't find the correct skin tone in their foundation to match their skin, and it is really frustrating. I do feel you guys, so I just wanted to mention to you guys that this does come in about 15 shades, I think. So you are very much more likely to find a shade that suits you. So if there's one thing that you would take away from this video, it is definitely that you should cocktail your foundation products to suit your skin type, because no one method is going to suit every single skin type, preference, and need. And that more or less covers my very basic 101 foundation application lesson. I really hope that you guys found this video helpful. If you want maybe some more advanced tips on how to apply foundation, give this video a thumbs up and I'll know to film it. If you have any questions or comments at all, just leave them down in the comments box below. I will get to them as soon as I can. If you would like to see more of me, you can find me on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, Facebook. That is all listed in the description box below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope I will see you in my next video. Bye!